So in the past to everyday economics, we have discussed the money behavior. Previously, we also discussed the 3 economic balances useful for investment. Ngayon naman, we are going to talk about some counter-intuition in economic decision making, which really affects all of us. Because as I said, we think people are rational, akala natin pare-pareho lahat mag-isip, then if you don't know the intuition or the counter of the basis for this decision, you would most likely fall into the trap, what we call everyday trap of economics. So ano pa yung mga counter-intuition na ito? Tingnan natin sila isa-isa. First, we have to understand the concept called rational addicts. Meron bang ganon? Actually, it looks or sounds like oxymoron, parang conflicting. Paano naging rational ang isang taong addict? Most of the time, we call a person an addict if that person cannot control yung kanyang gustong gawin. That means addicted to something, so most likely that person will not stop doing the same things even if he or she wants to stop. However, there was an interesting study made in the 1960s. Sabi nung gumawa ng study na to, and he is Gary Becker, a sociologist who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in the 70s. Sabi niya, gumawa siya ng experiment. People who are addicted to anything are not necessarily unaware that they're making an irrational choice. Parang he was trying to prove that even if you're an addict, you will still be rational. How did he prove that? He proved that by saying that, yes, kung addict ka, you will pay for the amount for the product that you are addicted to at any price. But according to him, if there is an announcement that the price of what is addictive will fall, then your demand will change. No? So interesting tong idea na ito. So what Gary Becker did was come up with an experiment. Nung nalaman niya na itataas ng US government yung taxes sa cigarettes. And indeed, what he found in his experiment, the week before the tax was to be implemented, the people who were addicted to cigarettes were buying in bulk. So, ganun din nangyari dito. Actually, I tested that. In 2013, we implemented the first round of what is known as the sin taxes. And I remember very clearly in December of 2012, I was in a huge supermarket observing people, and they were buying liquor and cigarettes by the bulk, to the point that nung tinanong ko yung manager, what were the fastest moving goods in the last 2 weeks? True enough, liquor and cigarettes. So, rational din kahit na addicted ang mga tao. Now, another point in understanding intuition in economic thinking is that people think in nominal terms. No? Masyadong technical yung nominal. Ibig lang sabihin nito, people think in relation to what they see. So, kung nakikita nila mataas ang presyo, yun ang nasa mind nila kasi yun ang nakikita natin. So, if, for example, if real disposable income is falling due to inflation, remember, in our first series, so second pala, we talked about disposable income, meaning your income after taxes. So, kung tumataas ang presyo ng bilihin, even if you, let's say, get a disposable income of, let's say, 30,000 a month, that 30,000 is not the same 30,000 when inflation, let's say, was 1%. Kapag ang inflation ay 5%, then that means that 30,000 cannot buy the same amount when inflation was 1%. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng nominal pricing and real pricing. So the real price should take out inflation, right? But most of the time, kung kailan tumataas ang presyo, doon ang sinasabi ng mga tao, itaas nyo yung sweldo namin. People wanted an increase in salary. However, we know all of us have experienced this. Even before the salary increase is implemented, our expenses has already increased. And that is why this is a very important counter-intuition argument. You know? Yes, you may make money, earn 20%, but if you have credit card bills and you're not paying, you're only paying the minimum, you're actually paying 48% interest. So you're actually losing 28%. This is what it implies. Now, another thing that we need to focus on here is that people make decisions on recent data. This is why scams continue. No? Bakit hindi natatapos ang mga scams? Why? Because people don't remember what happened in the past. Right? Uh, in the same manner, when we are doing investment decisions, people will always think inductively. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng inductively? Meaning, people will just look for other people who already made decisions or made money in their investments. Kasi it's expensive to do research, no? Magtatanong ka pa, mag-research ka pa, mag-aaral ka pa, by the time na aral mo, naiwan ka na ng market. Kaya magtatanong ka na lang dun sa kilala mo, itong tao na to kumita na. So inductively, yun ang ginagawa mo. You are using rule of thumb. Bine-base mo na lang sa mga nagawa na ng iba. However, practical yan. However, ang challenge yan, it will create bubbles. No, kaya maraming tao naiipit because everyone tries to buy at the same time because people are buying. Notice and observe that in the market. Ano? Kung nag-i-invest kayo sa stock market, makikita niyo yung mga tao, pag may isang stock na gumalaw na hindi nila kilala, sasama lahat doon. Merong may alam dito. So, ibig sabihin, nagkakaroon ng crowding out at dadating ang oras na yung kung hindi mo kilala kung sino yung naunang pumasok at lumabas na siya, maiiwan ka doon. Kakaroon ka ngayon ng bubble. So, what is happening here? You have to understand there are basic tenets in investment to avoid being scammed or being affected by changing decisions of people. So, ano yun? There are 4 things that you should always have in any investment instrument, kahit na ano pa siya. First is liquidity. Liquidity means that you know how much money you can get in and out or how fast you can get your money out of it. Second lang po yung return. Return means how much in percentage terms you get back your investment. So, if most of the time yun lang ang sinasabi, you will earn 100%. You will earn double, triple percentage return. And then, the risk must be clearly stated. Any investments must tell you that this product is risky or not risky. And more importantly, if it has all these 3, it should at least be registered and therefore it will have tax implications. So any true investment will have any of these 4 elements. Tingnan po natin, this table provides that option for true investment. So look at savings, for example. The risk is low, very low risk ng savings. The return is also very low. The liquidity is, however, high. Anytime you can withdraw. But the tax is high also. And contrast that when you go to the stock market, is a bottom. The risk is high. The return depends. Sometimes higher, sometimes bumababa. The liquidity is medium. Why? Because there is a middleman. You need the broker. So, hindi mo siya mawi-withdraw agad, makukuhang cash. Right? And the tax, there is at least a documentary stamps you are paying. So, it gives you these ranges of possibilities when you're doing investment. So, dapat yung 4 na yan nasasagot. So, kung merong pumunta sa inyo and trying to offer an investment instrument without or missing one of these, wag po kayo mag-invest. That's not a true investment. But tingnan natin, ano? This is a long-term graph of an investment of, let's say, you were investing 1,000 every month for the last 30 years. You know, this was the time I started investing. Kaya pinapakita ko sa inyo. Kung naging consistent ako, ito yung mga nangyari. So every month, if you have put in 1,000, if you have kept it under the bed, So, nasa mga 200, nasa 300,000 na yan. If you have bought peso dollar or dollars, no? It's a little higher. It's about 400,000, so about 375. So you gain about 25,000 pesos. If you have bought treasury bills, roughly nasa mga 600,000, so double than keeping it under the bed. But if you have taken the route of the stock market, right, it would have tripled already, about 900,000. From 300 lang yung walang interest to 900,000. However, along the way, if you're not heart is strong, you would have had some heart attack. Okay, so, baba, akyat, baba, akyat, baba. So, now, papasok ngayon dito yung inyong investment or your risk appetite. Okay? So, akala nila madaling kumita ng pera. If you want to invest for 1 million, if you have 5 pesos a day, it will take you 67 years if the interest rate is 5%. No? So it must be that the interest rate is high before you can get 1 million. Ganun po katagal yumaman ng 1 million. Kaya if you're earning a little bit lang sa stock market now, you have to wait. There's always a function of time in any investment. Okay, I hope these ideas have given you some perspective on counterintuition and some guidelines in investing. Some more points, no? When people invest, people always overprice themselves, no? Look at this basic, very basic. People line up in the lotto, especially if the price is very high. But if you ask people lining up sa lotto, what is the probability of winning the lotto? The probability has been established as less than 0.01%. That means it's almost zero. But what is the probability that you will get sick? Probably at least 5% in a year you will get sick. But why is it that people will not buy health insurance and buy lotto when the probability of one is higher than the other? Di po ba? People do not know. Diba? So if people do not understand the a better future, or the well-being is not going to be better, hindi po sila mag-i-invest. They will remain where they are. And that's why the rich invest more than the poor, because they're thinking about the future. Right? So you have to put the future in the mindset of investors. No, hindi lang yung present well-being. People who will go to heaven care about the future as much as the present. People who will go to hell will seek maximum pleasure today. Hindi ako nagsabi niyan. That came from the Economist magazine, 1995. Abuse of economics. This is where you separate the boys from the men when they try to interpret economic situation. Which is the better exchange rate? 56 to $1 or 50 to $1? Ano kaya? Most people will have different views on this. Then another question, which is the better interest rate? 10% or 5%? Ano kaya ang sagot mo? If you said that your exchange rate that is better is 56, most likely you get dollars from abroad. If you say it's 50, most likely you like to buy imported goods. Di ba? And which is the better interest rate? Kung may utang ka at madami kang utang, you most likely prefer 5%. But if you are a lender, you will prefer 10%. So that means there is no correct answer. It will depend which side of the fence you are. So don't expect people to have a complete fixed answer to any of this. And this is where a lot of the abuses in economics come from. As I end this series, I'd like to give some economic updates, which is not only good for today. We are doing it in August 2019. I'd like to give you a perspective of what we need to see and improve in the long term so that our investments are aligned. Firstly, we have to look at what happened to the economy in the last 2 decades. You know, the economy for the first time has reached a peak in investments. No, sabi ko in our series number 2, savings must be equal to the investment. Even if people are not saving in the Philippines, people are investing in the Philippines. Number 2, manufacturing has slowed down. What is the meaning of that? Manufacturing is an important element of growth of any countries, but it has slowed down. I'll explain later. Number 3, we are really a services-driven economy. Number 4, our exports are being affected by this global value chain called the trade war. And then number 5, we still have a problem with agriculture. So let me go to it one by one. First, investment has reached a peak and is slowing down. As you can see in this graph, pinakita natin dito yung different kinds of investments coming into the country. The red there represents durable equipment, meaning we have been buying machineries for production. So if you have machineries, what are you going to do with that? So dapat, if you have machineries, you're not buying it to sell it, but buying to use it. So if we have it right now, we are looking at the future that these machines will be useful in the next decade. So meron na po tayo ng machines. Kailangan gamitin na sila. Point number 2, manufacturing is losing steam. Ano ibig sabihin dito? Most developed countries, any country that have developed, had developed manufacturing. This is a challenge of the Philippines. We have very few manufacturing sectors here, and it's continuing to lose steam because its share to GDP has remained stagnant. Ibig sabihin, konti lang yung contribution niya sa economy natin. Mas malaki yung services. Right? Here, the Philippine economy is composed of trading, buy and sell, services yan. Financial activities, real estate, transportation, logistics, all of that are related to services. So we are really a services-driven economy. Number 4, exports affected by trade war. Sabi natin, nakita nyo na rin to in our session 2, we talked about the difference between exports and imports. We're saying na masyado nang malaki ang trade deficit natin, mas malaki imports kaysa exports. And that means we are not producing enough to sell abroad. You know, if you look at yourself in what you're wearing today, how much of that is made in the Philippines? Most likely, maganda na kung naka 10%. Halos lahat imported. And that's why we need to improve our exports. And that is connected to manufacturing. Kailangan mag-manufacture tayo ng something that will be needed by other countries. And finally, our problem that remains up to today, we have a large population who are dependent on agriculture, but our agriculture is not producing enough output for everybody. No? Ang agriculture contribution to GDP is only now less than 10% of GDP. And that is challenging kasi we still have a large population to feed. So if we do not have enough people in the agricultural sector, pati na ngayon pagkain at majority niyan we will import. Kaya we need to reboot it. Okay? So what are the key messages here? There are still things that are happening around the world that is not linked to the Philippines only. Meron pa rin global growth. And if global growth is still happening, dapat the Philippines should be able to sustain its current growth path. In the past, merong quantitative easing na tinatawag. Ano ba yon? The United States in 2008 experienced a severe economic downturn. Its solution was to print money, too much money to the point that the money went to the developing economies. Now that has ended. So now we have been given a lot of extra resources, we have to use it, right? And yung mga rich countries, they are now increasing their interest rates. That means if they're increasing their interest rates, in the future, people will need to look at two things when they're investing. They're also going to look at our local interest rates. Okay, and the trade wars will worsen. Why? The United States wanted to rebalance the world right now. So it means that if the Philippines will not produce something that the world needs, then we will be affected by these wars between the China, US, and Europe. But in the Philippines, interest rates continue to fall, no? Continue to fall, and inflation falls further, no? So yung ating nangyari na episode in 2018 of sharp inflation is now back to normal terms. So interest rates are low in the Philippines again. And you know, in the Philippines, inflation natin is always caused either by an external factor, and only once or twice na tayo may kasalanan. It was during nung 80s, nung wala na tayong pera, there was a debt crisis. And in 2004, when we increased the VAT. But all of the inflation drivers in the Philippines are external in nature. Except, again, last year, nung nawalan tayo ng rice, it was our own fault. It was not the fault of anyone else. But there are good things ahead. We are in what is known as a demographic sweet spot. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng demographic sweet spot? Magkakaroon tayo ng population aged 15 to 64 who are going to compose the biggest share of the economy. So if all of this working age population will be working in the next 20 years, then the economy, the income will be largest during this period. And so demand for all kinds of goods and services will increase as well. So that's why it's called a demographic sweet spot. Lahat ng yumaman na country pass through this stage, and this sweet spot is their turbo boost. Hopefully, the Philippines will undergo the same turbo boost in the next few years. And despite all of these challenges, actually the Philippines is growing at its actual expected output at about 6%. So hindi kailangan mag-alala if growth is below 6 or above 6, as long as it does not fall below 5. Pag naging 4 something, may nagbago na yung growth natin. So if it's maintaining about 5.5 to 6.5, tamang-tama lang yan. Yan lang ang kaya ng economy natin i-grow. But in all of this, sabi nga, if you wait for the perfect time, sabi sa Bible, walang mangyayari. No? If you wait for perfect weather, never plant. If they watch every cloud, never harvest, walang mangyayari. So that means you have to do and take some action. You have to understand what is happening around you. So plant in the morning and keep busy, and then profit will come. Very interesting proposition from the Word of God. And it's always that we should do planning, use our common sense, and be informed about what's happening around us all the time. With that, I'd like to thank all of you for listening and watching over this 3-part series. I hope you have learned a lot, and that if you have any more questions and challenges along the line of economics, I hope that you can drop by and send an email. So I hope to see you again in the future for more of this everyday economics series. Thank you for now, and we'll see you again in the future. God bless.